Hello and welcome to the Cruising Altitude. We are going to be talking about what it's like to cross the Atlantic on a cruise ship. Now, one of the questions I am asked quite a lot is whether or not it is rocky, uncomfortable, or scary crossing the Atlantic um, by ship. And I'm here to answer that question for you. But I'm going to walk you through just some of the fun things we did on this particular ship. So let's get started. So back in 2018, my mum and I decided to take a trip from Southampton to New York on the Cunard Queen Mary 2 ship, and this was in November of 2018. Now, I'll be honest, we are a pretty well-traveled family as a whole. Um, we've traveled by air, by car, all over the world, including cruise ships, but this was something new to us. We'd never gone transatlantic. So I guess there were a little bit of nerves. Now, myself personally, I am not afraid of the ocean at all. So kind of looked forward to it, to be honest. My mother, on the other hand, was a little bit petrified um, of the idea of us crossing the Atlantic. I think she was just excited about getting to New York. Anyway, so our captain began to take us out from the Southampton port and we started turning, which for some reason is far more exciting on an ocean liner than it is on a cruise liner. Um, Now, maybe don't ask me why, because I have no idea. Um, Maybe it was the nerd in me being on a different type of ship. Um, but actually, that type of ship, the ocean liner, made a huge difference in crossing the Atlantic, and I'll get into that in a little while. And I'll get into that pretty quickly, but I just wanted to share the fact that we had a delicious glass of bubbly for the sail away. And who doesn't enjoy a glass of bubbly? I mean, give me the rough waters anyway if I get a bucket with a champagne on ice. You know? Who's complaining? Not me. I digress. So, the first couple of days as we went out into the open waters were pretty smooth, as you can see by this video. It's some pretty beautiful scenery, and you could walk around the open decks without any issues at all. I would say by day 3 was when it started to get rocky. And when I say rocky, you are holding onto that banister to keep your balance. But I found something really fun that you could do. And I probably shouldn't be recommending doing this, but I don't know, I had some fun. It made for an entertaining journey. So, as the ship is going up and down, and forgive me, I cannot remember the correct terminology for it, but as the ship is tipping forwards and backwards as it goes over the waves, um, you'll feel like really, really, really heavy and then really, really, really light as it lifts up and down. So, what we did was, as we were walking along the corridors, if you bend your legs as it gets really, really heavy, when it gets lighter, like as it kind of lifts and lowers, you'll literally feel like Peter Pan. Like you'll go from super duper heavy to really, really light, where you can lift yourself up and you're like floating on your tippy toes. It's a pretty cool feeling, but we had banisters to hold on to, so um, I'm going to say that that was my safety net, but I wouldn't recommend doing it in an open area because you'd probably hurt yourself. But yeah, so that was the fun part that we had. Now, as you can see by this video clip that I have put in here, it tends to show, if you keep your eye on the little X or the cross in front, you can see how we're peaking and coming up and down over the waves here, which I just love the ocean so much. So to be able to kind of be in the center of it during the winter months, I think I mentioned earlier on that we were on this in November, so we're in the northern side of the Atlantic, which is always a lot rougher than the southern parts, um, but it's just so beautiful to watch it and see, like, Mother Nature and this whole world um, that we don't normally get a chance to see, you know? Despite that, and I have mentioned before that I really don't have any issues with the ocean being scary. Like I've said, I think it's amazing. So, um, my mother, on the other hand, was getting pretty scared. It was moving quite a lot, and I actually think she was trying to be brave and not show me how nauseous she was feeling during this trip. Um, I don't know, maybe I have a sailor's stomach, but I didn't feel a thing. But one thing we found, and maybe this is a good trick or tip for everyone, is the Golden Lion pub, which is the British pub on board, is smack bang in the center of the ship. So as the ship is tilting and rocking and moving, um, there's much less movement in that particular area. So if you're trying to find a neutral area, can we call it that? Then that would be the most perfect area to sit in. Now, let me be clear here. I know I've been talking about how rocky it was and how nauseous some people felt, um, but the ships are built for this, and we travelled with Captain Christopher Wells, who was absolutely incredible in keeping everybody updated. And I'm sure he's aware that people are scared, in a sense, to go transatlantic, even though they're booking these cruises. It's pretty daunting being in the centre of the ocean, right? So he spent as much time as possible talking about the ocean and how beautiful it was and how the Queen Mary 2 was cutting through the waves, and he just kind of put everyone's mind at ease and showed everyone on this trip that this is normal, that this ship is built to do it. And when I say this ship slices through those waves, it really does slice through them. I worked for a cruise liner recently, and we went transatlantic from the Caribbean into Southampton. Um, and we went across the southern part of the Atlantic in, I believe it was June um, of 2019, and that was rocky. That was rocky. Um, and part of that reason is because the ocean liners are slim. If you look at them, they're much slimmer, and so they just kind of skim through the ocean. And the cruise liners, whilst they're okay, they're comfortable, it's not atrocious, it's not awful, but you can definitely feel the difference between them. Um, Remember when I was working for this other cruise liner and we crossed the Atlantic, I would be in my office and my office chair would be rolling back and kind of hitting the wall, and then I would just wait and it would roll back forwards and I'd go back to my desk, and it was um it's the kind of, like, the banana boat rides that they're like little boats in a fun fair or an amusement park, and they make your stomach do that moment where it feels like your insides are kind of lifting up, and then it gives you a tingly tummy. I think they like the pirate ships, they go up and down. That's what it felt like on the Queen Mary. I didn't quite get that feeling. It felt sturdier, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. One of the coolest things that we had was sat in the Golden Lion pub, and the waves would crash over the windows. You'll see it in a clip here just in a second, but just getting a glimpse of that happening was magical. Honestly, it's just amazing. There we go. There it goes. It put everyone was just in awe every time it happened. And so, whilst yes, it is rocky, in the winter at least it's rocky, but it's amazing. And if you have an opportunity to do it, please, please, please go ahead and get on a cruise ship or a cruise liner, because it is magical. And as you head into New York on the last night of the cruise, and you're sailing past the Statue of Liberty and going under the bridges, and you see the lights and you can see all the buildings in front of you, it's amazing. So, I really hope you enjoyed this honest review, talk, chat review, whatever you want to call it, of the transatlantic trip, purely the water and what it felt like, what it looked like, what it was, um, then please, please, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments. I would absolutely love to know your feedback. This is my very first video. I realize I say a lot. I will improve that, as well as my editing skills, I hope. But I do really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them again in the comment section, or anything you'd like to know about cruising in general, or about working on a cruise ship. Maybe I could create a Q&A video or a specific video to meet and answer those questions for you. So bye for now, guys.